Well, good evening to you guys. I'm eating my dinner. It's 10:30 at night. I worked from 8 o'clock this morning until right at 9 o'clock. And I left work and headed home. Put in them hours. You know, one of the most disrespectful things that you can do is talk behind somebody's back and not give them a chance to defend themselves. Today, I was on Phil Escott's group, 100% Carnivore and Be Gone, and I get a message that somebody has shared a picture of me to their personal page. I click on it. It's in a gentleman in Pakistan. His name is Ronald. Says he moved to Pakistan a few years ago. Now, the heading of this picture was, "I think I found a live Oompa Loompa." That was his. All I could think to myself was, how low does somebody have to go to go into your personal life and take a picture of you and try to share it on their personal page to draw attention to themselves? What kind of person would feel so good about themselves to where they would want to do something like that and be able to breathe just fine and sleep just fine, knowing that they've stooped so low to be that kind of inconsiderate person? Now, I had previous interactions with this gentleman because I had shared my video about Jimmy Moore being censored and kind of, the rest of YouTube land being censored, and how Wikipedia and Google and YouTube are taking people's videos, articles, postings down and getting rid of the alternative health segments, pages, and stuff like that to suit the narrative of big pharma and big companies that pay them for advertisement, things like that, and people like us and alternative health channels and articles are taking away from them. It's taking money out of their pocket because they don't want people to know the truth. It is what it is. Those companies pay Google and Wikipedia and YouTube platforms to gear things a certain way, and you have to be smarter than them in order to get your stuff into the algorithm to get people to see it. And that's just how it works. When I think about this gentleman doing that, it infuriates me. There are some things that come, up front. The emotions up front are, I would like to smash this guy's guts out of his asshole. I would like to grab him by his face and pluck every single tooth out of his mouth until he feels the last one leave his gums. But that angry side of me that could come out would never come out because I've got control of myself. And I think to myself, how miserable can a person be that wants to attack you privately because of something that happened on a private public group? I defended Jimmy Moore by telling him, the guy responded to my video saying, "Why would you share that here? Jimmy is a shill, he's a liar, he's still fat, he gained all his weight back, he doesn't represent the keto community, the carnivore." I said, "I think you're completely wrong, and I think you're way, way, way out of hand here. Jimmy has done so much for people in the keto community and carnivorous community, low carb community in general, by writing the books and putting out the material and stuff that he has. Do you know how many people would have never even heard about keto if it hadn't been for Jimmy Moore? So regardless if you like Jimmy Moore or not, regardless if you like his physical attributes or not, he's done unspeakable amounts of justice for the keto, low-carb, carnivore community. So let's not even go there. You're just a person that has some kind of personal vendetta against him, and you shouldn't be talking about him in the way that you're talking about him. And the guy wanted to keep going back and trying to justify why he was saying what he was saying. I think he was feeling a little bit of my heat because it was starting to make sense. And people were starting to agree with me that that's not right, to do something like that. But in certain carnivore and keto groups, it's an open platform. And if you don't know different personalities from different parts of the world, like Australia and certain parts of the UK and stuff like that, New Zealand, things of that, people just literally come right out and say what they have to say. It can be the most harsh things, but a lot of places, that's just how they talk. Here in the United States, everybody's offended by everything. There are other countries where they're kind of more reserved and quiet, and they don't come across that way. They listen more than anything, which is probably the smartest way to do it. But, maybe I was being a little hard on this guy, but that's not right for him to do that. And then Jimmy not be there to defend himself, I felt like maybe saying something because it wasn't the right thing to do. And then on top of that, with his channel getting taken down by YouTube recently and being censored like he was and being basically terminated, eliminated, taken completely off the platform, it definitely wasn't right. And with me making sense and getting the best of this guy and probably embarrassing him, he said, well, Dr. Eric Westman and Rob Wolf, and he mentioned another one or two names, told Jimmy that he's eating too much. That's why he's not losing weight. So he probably should take their advice and listen to what they're saying. And I said, there's no way in hell that these guys would have said that to Jimmy to begin with, because Jimmy is trying to figure his stuff out. It's his business. What he does in his life has no concern to me other than I really want the best for him. So if you're going to make these claims and you're going to lay it out this way, then you need to bring that to the table and prove what you're saying right now in front of everybody. There's 12,000 people in this group. Prove it. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Prove it. Show us what you have to say. Prove it to us right now, or shut up. Put up or shut up. That's what it comes down to. And he couldn't do it. He didn't even respond to my message after that. He got completely quiet. But the next notification I got was him going onto my private page, pulling a picture of me and Matthew Frank, which Matthew Frank is like a brother to me. I used to work with him back in the day, and I introduced him to keto. I mean, the dude was probably close to 370, 380 pounds, 6'3", 6'4", and he's now lost over 100 pounds, doing great. He's a gym rat. He looks phenomenal. And all it did was take for me planting a seed. Just mentioning from time to time what kind of foods you could eat, what keto is, what it's done for me. And he, just by me subtly talking about things from time to time and explaining how I was losing all my weight, he said, dude, I want to do this. I can do it. It's easy. I said, you're absolutely right. It is easy. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. I mean, it just works. Eat good, whole food, low glycemic food, and put the basis around fat and protein, and you'll lose weight. Well, he posted that picture with me and him standing next to each other on his personal page and said, I think I found a real life Oompa Loompa. I just... People in general really get to you sometimes. No matter how strong you are, you just think to yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth having that one person that you've made feel salty because you've called them out on something that they've done wrong, really change the way that you do things, or make you want to walk away from things? I noticed on some of the carnivore groups where there's no filtration, there's no moderation, there's just, here it is, let's just talk and do things. Those groups get out of control. I mean, they literally get out of, people tear each other up, talk trash to each other, attack each other, and it's like, oh, freedom of speech. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to be a shitty human being just because you can, just because you haven't ever learned to have a conversation. And then there's the people that, this is the part that gets me. Somebody says, hey, I would like to use this product. Is this okay? There's always the one, and then probably even more. Instead of saying, you know what, that's not a bad product. That's just mineral water, and it's got a little natural flavoring in it. Not a big deal. Sure, no issue. There's that person that says, you know what, I can't do that. I just can't do it. What? Are you freaking kidding me? How did you answer that person's question? First of all, that person didn't ask you if you would do it. They said, can I have this? Is this acceptable? So you failed to answer the question, for one. Number two, they didn't again ask you anything about what you would do. They wanted to know if it was okay if they chose to do it, would it be okay? Number three, why would you answer something as, no, I would not do that, without explaining something small? You know what? That's got minerals and stuff in it that are artificially added. It's not natural. It's not something that I would really choose to do. I might, use some reverse osmosis water or something like that instead, or filter my own water, add my own minerals to it, and that's just my personal choice. But yes, you could have that if you wanted to. I would personally just not do that. Be a decent human being, for God's sake. I got on a guy about that. He answered the question like, nope, not acceptable. And I was like, dude, how long have you been in my group? How long have you been learning from me and seeing me do things? And the way I treat people is I somewhat try to explain anything that I say so they're not left just hanging there. That's just the civil human thing to do. Well, they didn't say to explain it, and they didn't say I answered the question perfectly. No, you didn't answer the person perfectly. You answered what you would do. You did not answer if they said it was. They simply asked, is this okay to consume? Even if it wasn't okay to consume, but it could fit, you could say something to the extent of, you know what, you will probably benefit from using that as opposed to that. It's not the cleanest product, but it could work for you if you really wanted it to. I just would prefer not to do it because I'm further along in my journey and I've learned to really clean my stuff up. So I think it would be okay for you starting out, but I would eventually recommend stopping it. Why not? Add something like that to it. Be a decent human being. But no. You got those people that just have to take it to the extreme. They don't care about your question. It's all about them. It's got to be answered about them. And instead of looking at the bigger picture, like this person's trying to change their life. Can they consume this right now? Yes. Is it that great? Maybe it's not. Explain why a little bit. And then say, you know what, here's a better option. Just be a decent person. If you can't do that, why even respond? Doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, Scott, the truck driver, mentioned me in his video today. I want to say thank you, Scott, for mentioning me. I'm the one that broke the Jimmy rants is no longer here anymore. And I told Jimmy I was going to do that. Jimmy Moore, the author of Keto Clarity, Cholesterol Clarity, plus cookbooks, and he's involved with Dr. Eric Westman and everybody else. He's just a really good guy, really good quality guy. Regardless of what was going on in his personal life, it's none of my business. He's done so much for this community. That's beside the point. Jimmy is just a great guy. And I told Jimmy that I was going to make a video about this, and I was even going to use his image that he posted on Instagram and stuff as my cover, just to let him know ahead of time. So I broke the video. I'm the first one on YouTube that actually talked about it, because I knew he wasn't going to have a voice, and I would hope that people would share my Jimmy Rants is no longer here video and talking about Wikipedia dropping articles and Google getting rid of stuff just because they can, just because they're getting paid by these people that want their ads and their products sponsored. And if people like me and you keep coming forward and saying, look, Chips Ahoy cookies is shit, that's a terrible product, it's a trash product that's going to have you your blood sugar skyrocketing all the time, insulin levels through the roof all the time, and these are direct relations to type 2 diabetes and neuropathy, things like this. Well, if there are people like me and you telling the truth about stuff like that, they can't have that stuff on YouTube and Google and Wikipedia and all these other platforms because they get paid by these people to allow them to put their stuff on those channels. And when there are people like me and you that are getting some headway here that are stopping people from clicking on those ads and buying those products, YouTube has to look at it and say, whoa, okay, so we need to start stopping this from going on. Jimmy didn't do anything wrong before he got off his platform. He didn't attack vegans. He wasn't hardcore or malicious with anything. He was the same Jimmy that we know. He was very informative, let people know what was going on. He made some comical Jimmy Rants videos from time to time. He talked about personal stuff that was going on in the keto community, kind of like publicly on his YouTube channel and other channels, things that he seemed concerned with. But he never attacked anybody. What it was a bunch of vegans got together, this mob group vegan mentality that's going around, and they just reported the hell out of his channel until there was no other way for them to take care of it other than to get rid of it. And they attack the smaller YouTubers first, and they make their way to the bigger ones slowly, and that's just how it happens. I'm surprised that, Vegan Gains is still on. Jimmy Moore never attacked anybody. He didn't even make controversial videos about anything. But you got Vegan Gains, Mick the Vegan, you got these other people that are making this trash content, and they don't get touched. I mean, they get a slap on the wrist when they get their channel right back. So hopefully Jimmy gets his channel back. Hopefully they don't keep it, terminated permanently, and they give it back to him like they did Vegan Gains after a couple weeks. So I don't know. It's concerning the mentality that's going on in a lot of these carnivore groups, especially, that these people feel like, oh, that's just the way we talk. I can tell you to F off and this and everything else, and that's just the way I talk. That's just normal. I've never seen that normal anywhere. But I do know there are certain countries that they let it rip. They don't censor what they have to say. If they got to tell you something or say something to you, they just do it, women and men alike. So I don't know. I think a lot of stuff has gone too far. The more time I spend in the keto and carnivore community, the more I notice more of the bad than the good, just for the simple fact that the bad really plays so much on your emotions. And it hurts that somebody would take something of you and try to make fun of you when you've already made so much progress, and yet they want to keep tearing you down like you're not good enough. The fact of the matter is, if you're going to make claims about something and you're going to call people out, you need to have some kind of proof. You can't just say stuff and expect it to be considered 100% legit. Have something to prove what you're saying is somewhat legit. And when you don't do that, you look like a fool. Anyhow, I posted a bunch of articles today. I posted about my experience with gluconeogenesis, how I consumed 2.5 pounds of meat in a 20-minute window, and all because of Dr. Khan, the idiot vegan doctor. I was talking to him. We were having a conversation online. He talks about how too much animal protein spikes glucose. And I was like, yeah, not necessarily. You're talking about gluconeogenesis that's derived from protein sources or the glycerol backbone of fat. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with consuming too much protein. You're automatically going to get a glucose spike. That's a demand-driven process that happens very naturally inside the body. When your your sugar levels are too low to support your organs, because your organs do need some kind of glucose, which your body can make very naturally. But it's not just because you eat too much protein that glucose goes up. So, I created a post and talked about that a little bit today, and a lot of people liked it. They really enjoyed my N=1. I got a few messages back from across the country on that saying, I really appreciate the work that you do and the amount of time that you put in, and for you to be able to put yourself through this kind of stuff, to share this information with us. And it's awesome hearing people say that stuff, because I feel like I do a lot of work in these groups and on Facebook and stuff especially, and a lot of people overlook that, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times the small YouTubers like me and Scott and Bart and Lucas Miller and a lot of Keto Diamond, Dave and Mon, Team Dave and Mon, a lot of the channels like us get things moving. Well, a lot of times we'll hear things first, and we want to get that content out, so we get the extra watches and subscribers and stuff like that. Of course, that's part of it. But a lot of that is derived from just trying to be knowledgeable, trying to be in the know, trying to figure things out and get it out there to you. And it's always nice to be the first one to do it. There are times where I've put content out and never get recognized for it. The whole Jillian Michaels thing, I was probably the first one to two. There was like one to three YouTubers that actually put out a video on this, and I took off like crazy, and my video started moving faster than anybody's, and all of a sudden it just tapered off and quit. And it was the bigger channels that kind of took off, and a lot of people were like, you know, this guy broke this story or that guy broke that story. I'm thinking to myself, that's not how it happened. But I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and that's how the story got broke, is because I was the first one to hear about it when it happened. And it's nice to be recognized for that type of stuff at times, especially when you work hard to put out good content. But at the end of the day, who gives a shit? I mean, it's content. As long as you can help and get stuff out, that's what matters. It's sad that there are such crappy people in the world, and no matter what you do, they're always going to try to find something negative to bring you down instead of looking at the positive stuff you did. And there are certain countries and stuff that I know they have a harder time with that. Communication skills aren't there. A lot of the people I talk to from the UK and Australia and stuff like that, they seem to be very blunt, very brash. They don't have very good long conversations. It's very like, like, fucking hell, man, the slag was here, and then all of a sudden it was gone. I was, damn. And then the conversation's over, where I would be like, this person came, this is what we talked about, this is what happened, this is the plan of action, this is where it's going to go, and this is where we're going to follow up with it. And my conversation is more in depth and more wanting to talk about it, to where they're just like, oh, hell, screw it, and it's over with. The conversation's done, and it's, I don't know if it's a mindset thing or what it is, but or just a culture thing, I'm not sure. But it sucks. It really does. It makes you start looking at, do I want the extra stress? Do I want to deal with people like this? Do I want to try to educate? There's a guy on one of my keto groups that he swears that anything that he listens to on this one particular forum that everybody talks on is 100% written in stone. And I'm like, dude, you're following like really, really, really bad information. Like, the stuff that you're reciting right now and implying to all these other people is not even 100% factual. What you're stating is something that's an individual base opinion or result that should not be reflected on everybody else. And I see that you're trying to almost come across as you're telling everybody this is how it is. Just remember, everything that you hear online is not true, and there are many ways to get from point A to point B. It just has to be the best way for you. And what you're recommending is not legit. I just want to put it out there. And this guy always goes back, well, on the ketogenic forum, or this person said this and this person said that. I'm like, dude, you need to just freaking chill out, man. Quit listening to everything that you hear, because it's like everybody else is wrong, and because that one person said that's how it is, and that's how it is. And it just makes you start thinking, why do I do this? Why am I online? Is this frustration really worth it? And I think it is for the most part. But it really makes you think about, have I just given up the last 3 to 4 years of my life of trying to educate people and find my own way, and being frustrated going through it for nothing? Just to walk away from it. And then that in itself kind of forces you back in the position to continue doing what you're doing, because you don't just want to throw everything away. But with the way YouTube's going lately, and the social media sites, Facebook and Wikipedia and Google, YouTube, monitoring and censoring everything and not allowing you to do this or that, I don't really know that it's going to be worth staying on a lot of these platforms anymore. Anyhow, that's kind of what happened today. I shared my story, growing up in one of the bigger groups as well, to kind of inform people about where I came from and why I don't treat keto and carnivore as a joke, why it's very serious to me, and why I'm not joking around about it like a lot of people are. and a lot of people seem to respect me a little bit more about hearing why I feel that way, and I don't make a joke out of it. Uh, that's pretty much how the day went, and that sums it up. So I appreciate you guys, and I thank you for being here. Um, Sorry I didn't have a food video or something for you. It was more of a serious talk kind of rant deal. And again, Scott the truck driver, thank you for mentioning me. If you guys haven't checked out Scott the truck driver, he's a very upfront, very honest, very smart man, and I love his content. So check out Scott the truck driver, guys. Thank you.